Passionate Talks. I'm your host, your friend Ajit Katte. Everybody loves finance, everybody needs money, but there is one thing which everyone lacks, that is financial awareness. On this day, we have a very special guest who is coming back to our stage once again to talk about finance. And the topic for today is home finance, home budgeting. Sir, welcome to the show. We have Mr. Sanat Bharadwaj on the stage. I'm going to start the session right away. And we have a lot of questions to ask him this time on home finance. And we'll start the session right away. Thank you, guys. Sir, welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Mr. Sanat Bharadwaj has been in the financial industry for 20 plus years, and he's been teaching and creating awareness about finance all this while and into various colleges across India. So that brings us to the interesting topic of home finance, and he's the right person to talk about it. Sir, I have a lot of questions to ask you on home finance. Let's start with the complete basics. I want you to talk about the basic financial understandings, such as what is income, expenses, liabilities, and net worth. What are the differences between all this?
See, first of all, the importance of basic finance for every family. Now, every family is the base for you to see a very bigger scale of finance that is happening across entire globe and entire pan-India. Now, a family has to save. That is the first thing for running any economy as such. Family has to save, so how the savings can come? Savings has to come from the income. You cannot take loan and then save. You can take loan and create capital. That's a different situation. But you have to earn, that is the income. And then you have to first save, that is the second thing. And then you have to spend. The order of basic finance begin with first having income, then having savings, and then having expenditure. Now here I will tell you my experience. Now you speak to 10%. 9 out of 10 will tell you that let us have a first income, then savings, then expenditure. Now you ask them how do they practice, and then say 9 out of 10 will say I have an income, then I have expenses, and rest of that what I go and save. That is the reason where entire finance goes for toss. So one thing I will conclude with this question is that for basic finance, the income and the expenses and savings are interrelated. And these should be accounted for when you see that how much knowledge you have and that knowledge translates into discipline of your activities. Knowledge without discipline is cipher, nothing. And discipline without knowledge is again has got no merit into that. So bringing these two together, income, savings and expenses, these three will only create in long term your assets, your net worth, your value of your investment, all this one. So that is the basic thing with which one should start with.
Okay, sir. Thank you for the definitions. Now, what is budgeting according to you? The complete basics of budgeting.
Yeah, budgeting is essentially bringing discipline into your thought process about finance. Every country, globally, and every family are all a financial units. All of us require to have some kind of budgeting in a sense. You should know the resources, you should know the expenses. This has to match. Normally it is said that your income should be more than the expenses. When we talk about the basic finance, this is a must. Because the moment you say that income is less than the expenses, that means you are going to take loan. This is applicable, okay, for the country, for a globally different kind of, that is applicable at that level. But for basic individual level, family level unit, your income should be more than the expenses. Now expenses has to be explained item by item, and then amount to each item. That is what is called budgeting. Means you are assigning different amount for different item that you have. Now when you do this, you have some very essential expenses. You have some which are not essential. They are more of something that you can defer as well. You have to first allocate resources for the essential items in your life. Thereafter, less essential, and then something which you say entertainment or which is not essential. That entire process of allocating resources, your income across different expenses, that is in simple word is called budgeting. Whether you apply this for individual family or you apply it for entire income, both work same.
So prioritizing your expenditure is budgeting.
Yes.
Right? In simple terms. Okay, sir. Now it comes to home budgeting. How do you create a household budget?
It's a very difficult, I will say, the difficult questions are normally asked to the female member of the family because they are the one, those who do the budgeting.
Yes, sir.
In the budgeting, we say always the food is the first item, health is the second item, education is the third item. You have to first prioritize your different items for yourself and for the near about your family. Then you also have budget on the exigency expenses, emergency expenses. No, the budgeting alone will not suffice the requirement, because budgeting is not that where you are spending items on day one, on day zero. No, you are spending on a deferred manner. So budgeting also is about identifying items, allocating resources, and then managing the money for that deferred period. Let us say, suppose you are keeping some money in the emergency fund. The emergency fund is not going to be spent until there is an emergency. Now, till then, where you have to keep the money, that is also a part of your budgeting, that you will keep this money safe in a place where this remains liquid to you, and at the same time that you can use it the moment you want it. So, budgeting is all about prioritizing your items, allocating resources, and until the expenses occur, managing those money is also your part of budgeting.
Okay, sir. From theory perspective, your definition and the basics of budgeting holds good. But if someone has to practice budgeting, what are the tools or apps that they can use to start budgeting at home?
Yeah, for at home, I will say I have not seen many families who are using extensively technology, because normally in earlier days, what you used to have is that you used to have a small diary.
Yeah.
Now, used to do a monthly writing on the diary. You used to write expenses. Now, this was the earlier practice, and I will say it's a foolproof practice that you can always go and see. Anybody can go and see. There's no password like that we have seen the technology. But then now the expenses has gone multiple. Families who are spending in lakhs per month and all, no, they need probably a little more than to carry about to see the trend of your past expenses and all. For that, you require some technology. The best thing I can recommend for technology is that go to the Excel. Excel has some inbuilt expense functions, family budgeting functions. No, there you can find the trend also of how you have spent in the previous years, previous months as well, and then based upon that you can find out the expenses exceeding or say getting. So that also can be trained. I think Excel is everywhere. If you have a computer, you will have Excel. Yes. That comes free of cost also. So better start from there. Then you have a lot of apps, but those apps, it's not that everybody is going to use it so efficiently. So better start, if you are not using the Excel, stick to the diary, which was the old practice here, because there at least you can see it. Okay, concluding the year month on month, finding a trend month on month will be difficult over there. But then Excel will suffice to all the requirement. That much is good enough for any family unit.
Okay, sir. Excel is a great tool. I think Excel has pre-built templates that can be used for saving and budgeting. When it comes to apps, there are free and paid apps. So not many people would opt for the paid apps, and free version will have limitations. So Excel I think is the best tool to start with. My father still uses diary to make notes on whatever expenses have been made. But the latest trend is technology. Everybody uses smartphone and laptops. So I think Excel can be one of the great tools to start budgeting. When you are using Excel, take Excel as an example. If somebody wants to use Excel, what are the tips for tracking expenses?
Expenses?
Yes.
How to track the expenses?
Yes.
One criteria that comes to my mind immediately is that if you are able to discipline your savings, so then it's going fine. Because at the end of the day, say month on month, what you do ultimately, you have to have an income and you must have a savings. It's a savings that will actually translate into capital net worth tomorrow. And to track the savings, that is the first criteria for anyone who is tracking the expenses in the budgeting. Now, after that savings that you are designing, then you will say where all I can save more. That means where you can reduce the expenses. If you cannot exceed the income, then you have to reduce the expenses. Now, you can translate some expenses, you can defer some expenses, you can pre-bond some expenses also if it suits to you that it can reduce the expenses down the line.
Yes.
So that maneuvering you can do in the expenses side, but at the end of the bottom is that if you are able to save, and then one question comes, very brilliant question is that how much should one save?
Correct, absolutely.
Now, it's a very difficult question because everybody has got different kind of income, they're in different kind of aspirational groups, they have different kind of lifestyle and all. But look at this one criteria, that how much on an average Indians save. Now the savings to GDP ratio that tell the entire Indian savings habit, that is around 28-29%. What it means? It means that if you personally, if you as a family unit are saving more than the national average, you are slowly becoming rich.
Yes.
And if you are saving but saving less than the national average, you are slowly becoming poor. So even if I do not say that something should be standardized in terms of lifestyle and all, but still you should save more than the national average, around 28-29%. So if you are saving, suppose you are having income of 1 lakh rupees, you should save nearly 35,000 rupees, 40,000 rupees. That is more than 28%, 29%.
Yes.
That is the one criteria through which you can identify that whether your track is right or wrong. But see, at the end of the day, it is all about how you are able to save and translate into creating long-term capital. Some people are good enough that they are able to save little less, but they are able to translate into capital at a much faster rate. So that's also one way, but that's, I will say, a little risky. And you need to know a lot about the investment habits, investment pattern, investments criteria and destinations. That is a separate topic. But saving should be good enough. Saving should be more than the national average. That much one should do. This is the required.
Perfect, sir. So when it comes to saving, there should be different strategies and goals where somebody has to set so that they can start saving. Example, I want to accumulate 5 lakh in the next 2 years. If that is a goal, then they need to create a strategy in order to save it. So what are the different type of strategies they can use? If one has to start saving from today.
See, when you say saving, no, savings should have some purpose. Without purpose, saving does not have.
True.
I will say one small example. Let us say you are saving for your children, your son or daughter, or you are saving in the name of son or daughter. These two are two different things but have the same connotation. In a sense, I am putting 5,000 rupees for my son. I am putting 5,000 rupees in the name of my son. The moment you say I am putting that in the name of my son, you will not just like to spend that money. It's a sacrosanct money. And the moment you are saving in your name, in the name of your son, you can spend that money so easily because no mental accounting comes into the, it's a behavioral biases. No mental accounting comes into the picture that, okay, this money belongs to him, so I should not save. This discipline does not come when you're saving in your name.
Absolutely.
Now, so every saving should have some kind of purpose, some kind of objective. This objective in finance is called financial goals. Everybody has got financial goal. You have a short-term goals, you have a long-term goals. Sometimes we say you have disguised goal. We say something, but we do something different. Now, disguised goal. Yeah. So you have different kind of financial goals, and every goal should be translated into the financial value. Suppose I say I want to go abroad to make a foreign trip. How much you want to spend? Second question. You will say I am planning to go near about Sri Lanka only. So okay, 30,000, 40,000 is good enough. No, I am planning to go to Europe. Then 2 lakh, 3 lakh rupees is good enough. So you have to translate that your goal in terms of financial value, and then for the given time period in which you have to plan that goal, you have to identify the area where you are saving that. Okay. So all these three things has to be discussed, explained, and then the savings translates into a good investments and investment behavior.
Okay, sir. Perfect. We have defined a goal. We have set up strategies to achieve it. That is set. Okay, we are confident that we're going to achieve the goal one point of time. But there is always an emergency in life. Such, we also have emergency fund in place. So, what are the tips we can follow to save some emergency fund?
Emergency fund is it's an essential part of your budget. Yeah. In fact, what we say is that you should have a first emergency fund out of your savings, and then you should go for deployment of fund for short-term and long-term financial goals. Now, how much emergency fund one should require? Different people, different interpretations. Some will say you should have at least 6 months of expenses. That is your emergency fund. Okay. Somebody will say you should see the past 5 years of your requirement of emergency, and based upon that you create your emergency fund. That's also one way. You can say semi-liquid expenses, semi-liquid investments are also emergency availability. A fund for the emergency reasons. That's also one way to see. Nowadays, people say we have an immediate cash coming from the credit card. So even if you have investments which can be liquidated in say 1 month's time, that is also a kind of emergency fund for us. So different criteria, different mindset, different kind of identification of emergency fund. One thing is that one should have emergency fund. Definitely, no division, nothing to deny. How much you want to have it, that you identify, and you should say that this much is required for me. This much is what I can do. Depending upon your financial capacity, you will have a different kind of emergency requirement. Say you are staying in your own house, different requirement of emergency. You are staying in a rented house, different requirement. You are staying not in your city but in some other city where you are working only for the different kind of requirement of emergency fund. So all these factors. So that is where you need to discuss with somebody with whom you can confide all your basics, and then you will conclude about the emergency fund.
Oh, okay, sir. What if the salary is less? Assuming um, a workforce where the salary is around 30,000 or 20,000, can they also save emergency fund?
They should ideally save. In fact, their requirement of emergency fund is even more than those who are having a higher cash flow.
Yeah.
Somebody earning 1 lakh rupees, probably for him, no, emergency fund is not that much required as much as the person who is earning.
Yes, sir. But my point is, if the salary is 20 to 30,000, they would definitely be having more priority of saving, but their saving potential would be less because of inflation. In those scenarios, the emergency fund would be too less for them. I mean, they would not be able to afford any emergency fund for them too. So, do they have? I mean, does the government provide any loans for these kind of professionals where the emergency fund can be given to them?
See, loans are there,
Yeah.
but then see who are getting loans. You are getting loans only for your financial strength. If you are a low income group, you do not have many options for getting loans, honestly. You go to any banks or go to anywhere, no, you will not find so much of acceptance if you have got a low financial income, a low monthly income. About government support to them, government comes with a lot of Jan Dhan Yojana, Bima Yojana for them. There is also some kind of retirement plan. That is also there. But nobody will provide you free lunch that they will give you money and then dole it out and then you spend it. You have to earn and then you have to spend. That's the basic thing out of that. Number two is that taking loans and creating emergency fund is a too daunting task, because when you take loan, you have to pay back with interest. So every loan comes at a considerable interest rate. In fact, I should say that loans which is designed for a weaker section of society, something called very popular microfinance.
Yeah.
You will be surprised. Microfinance rates are as high as credit card. People do not know this.
Okay.
Microfinance rates sometimes run the rate of 20%, 25%, 30%, as much as credit card charges you.
Too much.
So it's easy to say anybody that will go for microfinance. Absolutely wrong. If you are able to take microfinance loan, convert it into capital expenses, create earnings for you, then pay back that loans, then it's a good.
Yeah.
But translate that loans into emergency fund and then that is deployed nowhere because it's not earning anything out of that. You are paying interest on this amount.
Correct.
So loan and emergency fund should not go together. Emergency fund should be always out of your savings. Now, how much you can save is what income capacity, your expense capacity, based upon that. So that way you have to balance it. Of course, it's a low income group, you have to struggle. You have to increase your income. There's no way.
Understood, sir. So the main gist of this particular topic is even if your salary is less, try to save money for emergencies because it's crucial for you and your family to sustain. Okay, let's go to the next topic. Now, when you save money for your expenditure, then definitely there are options to take loans. So when you take loans, that's a debt, right? So how does one manage debt? So there are good and bad debts as well. So explain the good and bad debts and how does one have to manage debts?
See, whenever the word debt and loans are interchangeably used. You say it loan, you say debt, I will say it a bond, all are saying that you are borrowing from somewhere. Now when you are borrowing, then it comes the capacity of your repayment ability. People give you loan only when you show them their repayment ability. If you have a good repayment ability, you will get a lesser rate of interest. Yeah. If you have a bad repayment ability, you have compromised little payment ability, then you will get a little higher rate of interest. So loans are loans, you have to pay back them with the interest rate, the interest that actually you are assigned to that. Now good loans and bad loans is that if the purpose for which you have taken the loans, you are able to translate that for a rightful reason and pay back and earn and pay back, that's a good loan. You should take loan. In fact, entire world is running on the loans. Every economy is running on the loans. We all are into loans. We create normally 50% houses are built on the loans. So loans is not bad. As long as you are able to create revenue out of that loans, all these are good. But the moment suppose you take loans and the purpose was not met, income has not been derived, and so you are not able to pay back, neither you could be able to create capital, nor could you be able to pay back to them. That's all bad. You will find bad loans in personal finance, you will find bad loans in the housing finance also, you will find bad loans in the microfinance also, you will find bad loans at the national level, industrial level, everywhere you will find bad loans happening. That's the only about indiscipline you can say.
So one such bad example for personal finance is people take iPhones with personal loans, right? They spend 80 to 90,000 by taking a personal loan. That can be a
Yeah.
debt.
So we explain this like this. When you take loans, you have to have a identify what for this purpose. What is the purpose for this? Whether this is a capital expense or revenue expense. This loan is to be made for the capital expense. Buying an iPhone is a revenue expense. It will not add any income to you, except that it's also the status you can display.
Yeah.
But if that amount is put into purchasing a laptop and then using that laptop for some commercial reason, that's a capital expense for you. True. So imagine the loans people are taking for purchasing an iPhone. They may have this earning capacity in future that they can pay back without having a revenue income arising from that iPhone. I will say this quality of loan is only for the purpose of personal, that's you can say ego satisfaction, social status and all, but it's quite risky. One should not venture into this until you have been able to secure your cash flow or your savings or your finances. If you have it, you should do it, otherwise it's a risk.
Perfect. So what are the strategies for paying off debt?
Yeah, it's very interesting thing. The pay off debt depends upon the kind of loan you have taken and the kind of interest rate is being charged about it.
Yeah, and your salary income also.
Yes. Yeah. So you see, look at the interest, how you pay the interest. In fact, if you take any loan, in suppose loan 10 years, 10 years, you pay 90% of interest in the first 5 years.
Okay.
And the remaining 10% interest is in the remaining 5 years. That is a normal definition. You actually, initially you pay only interest, you do not pay capital. Yeah. So if you have to plan your payment of your loan, you should ensure that you should pay maximum whatever you can in the first 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So that you can reduce the interest out. Because once capital is reduced, interest automatically comes down. Now suppose you have paid the 70%, 60%, 80% interest already on your entire entire loans. Thereafter, then you better pay the loan with interest now, because already you have paid so much of interest, they will let it carry.
Yeah.
So if you have to prepone your loan, that's the best way, because you compromise, you reduce the interest. And this is the best you can see. If you go to the Excel, there's a very fantastic worksheet over there, and there you plan your loan, put your loan there installment, and then the amount, you will find the interest that you are going to pay month on month. And you have also one Excel place there where you prepone your loan, the capital will come down, you will find how much interest comes down because of that.
Drastically.
So just do this exercise and you will say in first 3 months, 6 months, first 2 years, 3 years, you should maximum pay back the capital so that interest should come down. That is the best way you can do. The second, one more thing I will say is that if you have taken the fixed loan or the floating loan, there should have some ability to judge whether the interest rate is going to go up or come down. If interest rate is going to go up, floating loan rate is not good. You should convert that into fixed loan. If interest rate is set to come down, then floating rate loan is better than the fixed rate loan. So that also can be one strategy for you to identify.
Perfect, sir. So definitely there are strategies for paying off debt. Interest rate is something which people have to avoid. But how to avoid debt?
You have to increase your savings.
Yeah.
You have to build your capital. You should have a high net worth. No. See, income, savings, capital formation, and net worth. These are the 4 things that display about your assets that you have. Yeah. If you have financial muscles, you will be giving loans to others. If you do not have financial muscles, you will be taking loan from the others. No. So the entire world is surviving on loans, but who is giving loans? Those who are, so build up your net worth. If you are able to build up your net worth, you can build up your net worth in 10, 15, 20 years. There's no doubt. A small savings with the power of compounding in a proper investment destination can translate into a very good net worth. And once you have a net worth, your money will play for you, not that you require to play in the market. Fine. So once you are able to build your net worth, then you can not only save taking loans, but in fact you will be the one who is giving loans to others. So you see, you are putting your money on play. Yeah. Somebody is giving you interest because your money is now working for you. So that is the better way. There is no other alternative with this. You have to accept it.
Perfect, sir. Now, since we're talking about home finance and the topic is debt, assuming a microfamily where there is a couple who is working and they have 1 or 2 kids, so they definitely would go for loan. So what are the best tips you're going to provide to them in order to save more money and manage debts? Microfinance, so micro family, I would say.
For say small families need family, no. Normally, if the moment you say they are going for one family, two family, and they are in unit family, then they have to have an earning resource. Why family has become unit family? Because they have developed the earning resource. Otherwise, they were in joint family. When you have less resource, you are in joint family. Now you have a more empowered, more resources, you are in unit family. Now, when you have more resources, more income, then you should have also have a discipline. You should have a understanding of savings and investment, because this is the only cycle that can bring you from here to the next round, because you have already come out of the joint family system where a lot of protection was there. Retirement planning is a different concept in a joint family. Retirement planning is a different concept in a family. So when you have come into a family, then this route of savings, investments, creating wealth and net worth is the only route that is left to you. Now, how you can do it here is that depends upon your style of living, your concept of how you actually live, how much expense you want to incur and all. Suppose somebody say, we want to buy iPhone. Somebody say, I want to buy bigger car. I want to have a little bigger house by taking higher loans and all. This is the all expense habit that you have. You have to work upon this. You have to see how much you are able to save vis-a-vis down the line, where the income investment opportunity is there. For example, I will say India is in the say very good growth line. For last 10, 20, 30 years, you can see post 1990, you can see India has privatized its economy slowly, and a lot of wealth has been created everywhere. Even land has appreciated, even equity has appreciated. So everywhere you will find a lot of wealth has been created. Now, whether you have been with a net expenditure oriented family, or you were able to create wealth along with this, that has to be seen. If you are in a phase where you can create more wealth using these destination of investments, that's a rightful way. So you have to prioritize your investments, investment destinations, your expenses, your savings, and that way only can your family grow up from here.
Okay, great. We were talking about buying iPhone through personal loans, but people can still buy iPhones with investments, right? By choosing the right investment platform or investing in stock market or bonds, they will be able to grow their money and also accumulate funds for their personal expenses such as buying a laptop, a car, or iPhone. So this particular topic is about investment alone. So what is the importance, or what are the basics of investments? So there are topics like stock, mutual fund, and bonds. So just elaborate on that.
See, when it comes to the investment, I will say how traditionally we are the investors. We were physical. We were invested into physical assets. You had a land, you had a house, you had a physical goods, and then you had a other physical like shops and all, estates and all. These were the physical assets that we had. Still in India, the physical assets have not come out of the fashion. We have 50-50%, 50% in physical assets, 50% in the financial assets. Now, those who are educated, they prefer to put money into the financial assets, so the new destination has been explained. Now, in financial assets, again, you have two different branches. One where you get a fixed income, that's a fixed deposit. You go to the post office, you go to the bank, you go to NBFC, non-banking finance company, you go to some housing finance company or company deposits. So these are the areas where if you make deposit, you will get the fixed interest. That's the one way. You will get lesser interest. Because the moment you have fixed interest, it's a little risk less or little lesser of risk, and the moment it is lesser of risk, then you will have a little lesser of return. So from fixed income you go to the variable income, and then you have a lot of product. The stock market is the one which is the epitome, from where you have all the variable return comes. So you can invest in one stock if you have a knowledge, good enough. You can go into derivatives if you have even more knowledge. You can go into mutual fund, that's a portfolio of a stock. Even if you have lesser knowledge, you can go into mutual fund. You can go into AIF, alternate investment product. That's a more complex and it needs little more than the normal amount. Say 1 crore is the smallest ticket size for the AIF. Wow. You can go into PMS, that's a portfolio management. 50 lakhs is the least amount. So in the variable income segment, you have a lot of destinations. In the fixed income syndrome, you have again a lot of destinations. So you have to choose depending upon your risk appetite. And depending upon your income, your savings, your risk appetite, you design your portfolio. Portfolio is a mix of a lot of things, it's not about one thing.
Yeah.
So depending on priority, you will create your portfolio and then you will do accordingly.
Okay. So they're all diversified. So what is the importance of diversification? Why
big difference.
why one should not just invest in the mutual funds, but they should invest in all these various sectors.
See, we know one small sentence, very beautiful sentence, very important sentence. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
So that basically explains your diversification. When you are investing everything at one place, the chances of it doing good or it doing bad both happens. No, this uncertainty is called risk. No, if you are investing, say, only in gold, let's example. Okay, gold has got great run in the last 2-3 years. It's fantastic. But this is uncertain behavior. If the gold was supposed to give you return around inflation, which is around say 4, 5, 6%, but it is giving you 12% right now, 10% right now, that means some other time it will give you 2% only, because long time average has to be 6%, which is the inflation. Now, this uncertainty is called risk. So, if you are putting all your money into one aspect of investments at one destination, no, that uncertainty goes up substantially, and that's risky. Diversifying it, putting in different asset class, asset allocation, what we say, it brings down that uncertainty, and that is why it is called less risky. So, that is the best way to move forward.
Okay, perfect. With all these investments, most of them they invest because of they need to buy a property or they want to settle in life, etc. But some are kind of investments where they are looking for a long run when they retire. So the retirement planning is one thing where it is catching up these days, and most of them are planning long-term goals for retirement. So what is retirement planning, and what is the importance of starting early?
Both the questions are equally important. You see, what is the retirement planning? If you say, the first question comes when you want to retire. Now, suppose somebody say earlier traditional practice was that we used to retire at 60. And then the catchword came from the industry, life begins at 60. Means you should save so much in your lifetime that from 60 you should have enough wealth that you can enjoy your life. But then things change. Now you say people retire early, 50. They want to retire 45, they want to retire even early 40, they want to go for a second job. So all these years of retirement is a function of how much wealth you are able to create in the early phase. Suppose you have a good savings habit, good investment destination, you could able to pick the right point of time of rightful investment portfolio, and so at 40 itself you feel that you have now enough resource that can meet the remaining requirement of your life. So retirement age, retirement corpus, the need of retirement corpus, the uncertain event is the inflation, pre and post, how much inflation will be there down after the retirement and before the retirement. Then the investment destination, where you are going to park your money. So all this put together in composite words, we say retirement planning. Everybody needs this, because gone are the days when you had a government job with a pension scheme. No more exist. Government also now says go with the NPS scheme, which is basically not that you are creating your own assets, you are building your own assets, and based upon that assets you are drawing money after the retirement. So whether you go for NPS or you go for any pension scheme or go for any retirement plan of any mutual fund or you build on yourself, all means same. Only branding is different, all means same. So plan it, calculate it, how much you need, at what age you need to retire, and based upon that create your portfolio. That basically is altogether is called your retirement planning.
Okay. So all this can be also termed as strategies, or do you have any strategy for it?
No, the different strategies are there. Now, suppose you want to retire early. You need quick money, you need early money. Equity is the only way. Suppose you have only 20 years to retire, 25, then only equity can give you this kind of wealth. But you have 30 or 35, 40 years to retire. They won't say a balance fund can give you. Balance fund means when equity and debt both are there. So different time horizon of retirement, different requirement of amount at the retirement, corpus requirement. All these will translate to different kind of strategy. There are a lot of strategy that we say. One thumb rule of de Broglie says, what is your age? I say 25 years. You say 25 years, 25% in debt, 75% in equity. And then you say, no, I'm 40 years. So 40% debt, 60% equity. So as the age progresses, the debt component keeps going, equity components keeps coming. That's the one strategy, very powerful. Then a lot of strategy from Benjamin Graham and all. They all given different strategy. But it's not about a strategy written in the book. It's about a strategy, what you implement in the market. No, that is more important. So there you have some consultant who can discuss with you. You should debate with him, identify your financial goals, retirement goals, identify the amount that you require, take the consideration of inflation into consideration, take the length of your life, had early insurance of life and then post that you should have a health insurance as well. Combination of both life and health insurance. So all these should be factored in a proper retirement planning. Based upon that, you will create a strategy.
Okay, sir. So when you mentioned the word insurance, right? So what are the different types of insurance we have, such as we have property, life, and health? So just understanding, give us a brief understanding of
See, understand. Everybody needs insurance, and insurance are of two types. One is life, one is non-life. Now, in life segment, you have a lot of policies. We say here policy, we will not say here a scheme. The schemes are for mutual fund and for equity market and debt market, and for insurance, we say it a policy. So you have a lot of policies for life segment. You have a term policy, you have an endowment policy, you have a money back policy, you have a ULIP, you have a universal policy, you have a lifelong, you have pension schemes. So there are many different types of policies from so many insurance companies. This is all called life insurance policy. So there you are trying to create a financial value replacement of the human life value. A person cannot be replaced, but his financial requirement can be substituted by the using these policies. That's the life policy. In the non-life segment, you have so many other policies, and where you said all these words, earthquake insurance and motor vehicle insurance, all these things are there. This is also required. Somewhere you have a statutory requirement, like you have a motor vehicle, you need to have insurance for that. So, a statutory requirement. Somewhere it's optional for you to decide. But I say life insurance and health insurance is must for everyone. For this, you should see that what is the human life value. There's a process to find out human life value depending upon your income left, how many years you are left for the income, then your present liability, how much loans you have taken, then what is your income amount per month and then what is the escalation in income possibility down here. So based upon all these factors, we create human life value, and based upon that human life value, we recommend them to take adequate life insurance. Neither you should be over-insured, nor you should be under-insured. You should be properly insured. That's the best way to do.
Okay. So what is the role of insurance in financial planning?
It's a perfect. It's a must. In fact, there are 5 components of financial planning. Total 5 components. It begins with insurance planning. The first component is insurance planning, then comes the tax planning, then comes the retirement planning, then comes the investment planning, and then comes the estate planning. So you see, it begins, the pyramid of this begins from the insurance planning. Why? The moment you become an earning member of your family, the family is dependent on you financially as well. So one should ensure that at least financial substitution can be there. So that one should ensure that he should have a proper insurance planning the moment he becomes an earning member. Then government says, you should pay tax, but pay less tax. You have deductions, you have exemptions, take benefit of that. So for that you require tax planning. Then retirement planning. After all these two, you have also life after retirement. So who will take care of you after you become 60, 55 or 75, whatever you say. So then you should have retirement planning. And then if you are left some money out of these 3, that's investment planning that begins. And after this, once you are 70, 80, 90, whatever age you know, then people transfer the wealth to the next generation. If you have a bigger wealth, you should learn how to transfer wealth to the next generation. Because it takes, if it takes one generation for somebody to acquire good wealth, it takes few decades only to destroy that wealth.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
So transferring that wealth to the next generation is very, very good strategy it should be, because otherwise they may spoil the wealth also. So that's called estate planning. So this all 5. So insurance planning is the first, it's the most important criteria of entire financial planning.
Okay. So what are the tips for choosing the right insurance coverage?
Of course, it again comes to the human life value. You must know the human life value, how much human life value we are accounting for. Suppose my income is per month 25,000 rupees. My income is 1 lakh rupees. Or suppose somebody likes celebrating. For him, the income could be in any range. So depending upon his income ability, his loans that he has taken. Somebody has taken 1 crore rupees of loan. That is also a liability for him. He should ensure to the extent that in his absence, the loan can be paid by the amount that he is able to get. No. So depending upon so many factors, one has to find out his human life value, and then one can decide. Now suppose somebody says my human life value is 1 crore rupees, but he has also got an asset of 40 lakh rupees. He has a house, that's an asset for him. So he can take the loan of only 60 lakh rupees. He can take the, not loan, he can take the life insurance of only 60, because his assets are there. No, so depending upon human life value calculation, you can design how much loan one should take. So there's a proper chart for this. And I cannot display this right now, but there's a proper chart for that. There, if you go and fill up the data, you will find out. Only Excel can offer you this solution if you go to the Excel.
So if you have that form, you can share that with me. I can share that in the description. People can go through it. In the pyramid, you mentioned the insurance pyramid. There is a tax bracket, right? So what is tax planning? What is the just give us the overview of tax bracket.
There are 2-3 things that everybody should know the tax planning. One is that your current income that you are earning, there are different sources of income are there. You have income from salary, you have income from businesses, you have income from capital gain, income from other sources, income from business and property. So you have a different source of income, all are having given different kind of tax treatment. The first thing is that if you have more than one source of income, you should see how those are taxed properly. That is one thing. Number two, once you have an income which is running with you, how much deductions and exemptions you are able to enjoy, because this actually translates into lower tax liability for you. So that's the second part. Third part is when you are going for these investments, that also mature, ensure that your maturity should be somewhat tax efficient. It should not be that you have invested and then you have paid again tax. So all this is called EEE, exempted. We do not have instruments like only PPF you can say, for the example, is a triple E category. Otherwise, even insurance has got no limitation, mutual fund has got limitation now. But PPF is still in triple E category. Otherwise, you should see that your investments, taxation planning should be on triple E or near to triple E category. That will give you tax efficiency. That you know about this.
Okay. How will the common man know about all this? Is there any platform to understand or to refer any reference materials?
If you go to the Google, you have a lot of materials over there. You should go to, or you can, of course, hire services of any advocates or any chartered accountant.
They can guide you.
They can guide you. It's better that you should get the proper tax consultancy instead of because it's a statutory requirement. If you make a mistake out here, you have to pay extra tax.
Absolutely.
So one should be very careful about tax incidents.
Correct. So this point brings to one more question: the basics of tax saving strategies. So will that be known to the common man by default? Will there be a tool, or they have to consult the tax consultant for that?
Best is tax consultant, because every budget will find some tweak happens. Now, who gets the first update or the real interpretation of those? See, understanding the tax tweaks are in fact a big jargon. Chartered accountants and advocates, they also debate among themselves. Look here, this is the implication. So ordinary persons are not expected to explain and to understand this through word by word verbatim, I will say. So they should always hire services of tax consultant, and based upon that, it's a once in a year that you have to do this tax deposit and all. So it's not a big task, one day job, but you hire the services of somebody that will give you the real picture.
Okay. So the last question in this particular topic about tax is what is the importance of tax planning?
It's a very important. See, if somebody does tax planning and does the tax planning efficiently and effectively, not only he saves a lot of outgo, but the same amount if saved can translate into a good retirement planning for him. There's a chapter in the financial planning studies that somebody who is doing diligently his tax planning actually does not require even retirement planning, because this amount becomes so big down the line. You are doing PPF. So, for example, you are doing PPF. Simplest of tax planning, I am talking about PPF. 1.5 lakh rupees per year, and it's going for 20 years, because 15 plus 5, 20 years, then another 10 years you take another one. So 30 years itself becomes such a big amount down the line that you do not require any retirement planning. So tax planning gives you two support. One support is that it's a part of your creating wealth, number one, because it's always long term in nature. Number two, it reduces the outgo. Now there's a second aspect of this. If you speak to somebody who has got a different view to this, they can also say, why should I deposit my money for tax savings? Instead of that, I will pay part of that as a tax, and remaining I will put into capital market. Okay, fine. This is also one strategy, but then you should know the capital market.
Correct.
It's vagaries, it's a behavior, it's uncertainty. So everything is fine as long as you know it and you also implement it. The best part is that tax planning gives you a lot of peace of mind also. It also helps you in building a big corpus, big wealth for you. It can be a substitute to retirement planning as well.
Okay.
So that's something that everybody should do.
This can be used for used as an emergency fund also? Can it be?
Little difficult because in tax planning the instruments are not liquid. If you put some money into tax planning instrument because of a statutory requirement, liquidity is something compromised. You will have it, but after a period. There are some instruments where you can take loan, but taking loan is not so easy. Paperwork are so difficult and all. So better keep emergency and liquid funds separate category and tax planning in separate category.
Okay. Now that brings us to one of the most important topic of this podcast series. That is, how do you create and maintain a financial plan for your home budget?
Creating a financial plan is writing a financial plan. The first thing that we say, whether you have written. Normally, if you meet any financial planner, they will first say, please give me a sheet of paper, paper sheet, and I will write. And they will even ask about the financial assets, your financial liabilities, your aspirations, aspirational value, then the inflation present, expectation of return, then portfolio. So based upon these functions, and they will document it. The first stage is the financial planning documentation. Because if you do not document today, you will forget tomorrow. And I tell you, in my experience of nearly 25 in the industry, is that I have rarely seen people documenting their financial plan. Rarely I have seen. The people say, I remember that. They do not remember simply. Their behavior changes. The moment market goes up, they say put all money into equity. Market comes down, they will say take out all money from equity.
Absolutely.
So behavior changes and then financial planning goes for a toss. So first thing is the documentation. After documentation comes the review part. Some people do it once in a 6 months, some people can do it once in a year. Both are fine. I'm not against anyone. But the thing is that as long as your financial planning gives you peace of mind, it's the best financial planning. As long as it is meeting the requirement, what you have mentioned over here, it's the best financial planning. The moment it is not meeting the financial requirement or the financial destination that you have written over here, then it is somewhere you have to review it. Reviewing is again something which is very, very important. You see why this has failed. The one sentence that goes into saying is that underperforming assets should be sold out and then the amount should be invested into a performing assets. And people do exactly opposite. I will give an example. Suppose you have two shares, stocks. One from 10 rupees has gone to 30 rupees. One has gone from 10 rupees to 8 rupees. Performing a stock is 10 to 30. Non-performing stock is 10 rupees to 8 rupees. People will say 10 rupees to 8 rupees. No, they will say 10 rupees to 30 rupees. Let us book profit. They sell performing stocks. Theory it is said that one should sell underperforming stocks and invest in the performing stocks.
Right.
People do vice versa. Now look at, I will give you one more example. Yes. If you are running a school, there are 5 students. You have to remove 1 student every year, suppose they are bad students.
Yeah.
You will pick out the bad students, you will remove. Here you are perfectly right. But there, when it comes to the investment, you will sell the good performance portfolio. So that is the basic flaw that we have investment habits. So that is why we say if you write it, you can actually watch it beautifully. So that is the best way.
Okay. One misconception with this particular aspect would be that the high performing investments maybe is giving me a good return, better return than the low performing. So I may get a better profit. That might be the mindset of the people there. What are the long-term and mid-term strategies one should set up?
Normally, long-term midterms are a little undefined area, I will say. Some people, earlier some people were saying 5 years is a long-term, 3 years is short-term. Then people start saying 10 years is a long-term. So long-term, short-term is a little vague area. It depends upon the individual, his investment destination, his investment goals and all. Based upon that, you can decide long-term and short-term definition, number 1. Number 2 is that normally if you talk about long-term, you are talking about equity investment. Because equity in long-term becomes less risky. Equity in short term is more risky, equity in long term is less risky. So if you say long term, no matter whether you say 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 year, that's a different issue, we'll discuss separately. But if you say long term, that means you are talking about equity investment. If you say short term, in short term equity becomes risky, but debt becomes less risky. See, the property is different. Debt is risky in long term, less risky in short term. Equity is more risky in short term and less risky in long term. So the moment you say long-term investment, it's about equity or equity portfolio. You say short-term investment, it's about debt. So this way we channelize this, and depending upon the individual choices, his financial destinations and investments and the definitions, now we can define short-term. That's it.
We can definitely modify and adjust these strategies based on the requirement, right? In the future, if there is something coming up in the future as an emergency. So, don't you think all this information is helpful for you to start home budgeting? If yes, kindly subscribe to the channel and let us know how do you feel about this particular session. I really thank Mr. Sanat Bharadwaj for taking his time and talking to us about home finance, how to set up home finance, and how do one start budgeting at home. Sir, thank you once again for this wonderful session and have a nice day, guys. See you until next time. Take
Thank you.
care.
Thank you very much.